This meeting is being recorded.
Know that every word you speak matters. Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Conversations That Make a Difference. I am Teresa Velardi, your host for this 1 hour of conversation that you can hear on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows with video every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Listen live on syndicated Dream Visions Radio Network, Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, that is, online, mobile, in your cars, on YouTube, and by asking Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio Network for you. You can get our apps and learn more about the station at dreamvision7radio.com. And I am excited for this edition of Conversations That Make a Difference. But before we get started, I always like to start with a prayer. You know, I start with the Serenity Prayer. So we'll say that together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I also want to say that it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others with passion and purpose, and all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And together we gratefully say, Amen. Amen. And today we have got two incredible women who are making a difference in the lives of many people. And I am very honored to introduce these women to you. You know one of them from a previous show, but let me start with Andrea McHenry. So she is the Executive Director of Freedom and Restoration for Everyone Enslaved, easily called FREE, F-R-E-E. Mm-hmm. Before joining FREE, Andrea was a licensed massage therapist and worked in a medical massage therapy field for 10 years. Early in her career, she was a certified court reporter and worked in the legal field for 7 years. 10 years ago, she became passionate about anti-human trafficking work and serving women coming out of sex trafficking industry. So she started to volunteer her time at FREE. In 2015, Andrea took on the role of executive director within the organization. Since her time as director, Andrea has continued to strengthen the educational pillar within the organization. In 2017, seeing that there was a gap in services available to sexually exploited women in the county, Andrea moved FREE forward in providing direct care services, including opening a women's drop-in center in the city of Reading, Pennsylvania, and in working to open a she's currently working to open a residential program for survivors of commercial sexual exploitation. As a follower of Christ, Andrea knows she is called to be light in the darkness, which is why she is committed to being a voice for the voiceless and an advocate for victims and survivors of sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. She believes every day people can take a stand against human trafficking. And together we can indeed make a difference in bringing justice to the enslaved in our local communities and around the world. Andrea, thank you for the work that you are doing. You're making a difference in so many lives. Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. And thank you to Mandy for connecting me.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes. So some of my listeners who are listening on a regular basis may remember this beautiful face of Mandy Lee. She was on our February 1st edition of Conversations That Make a Difference, and we were talking about what's your God-given purpose. And I think that kind of rolls into where we are going today. So let's introduce Mandy. She's a certified transformation coach with a focus on mental and spiritual wellness, based in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And she brings a unique approach to healing by combining the power of the supernatural and with holistic healing methods and techniques to bring lasting relief and freedom. Mandy Lee has received training in biblical counseling, psychology, inner healing, and deliverance through a wide variety of sources, including Northland Baptist Bible College, Liberty University, and Restored to Freedom. These are well-educated women, guys. She serves on multiple inner healing and deliverance teams, including Deeper Still, which is a nationwide nonprofit organization ministering to men and women that suffer from the soul wound of abortion. And she also serves on the board of Free, a nonprofit organization that we just talked about, focusing on bringing healing and restoration to sexually exploited women and raising awareness for human trafficking. And by the way, the month of March is National Awareness for Trafficking in this country. So Mandy is also a certified coach for Kingdom Builders Academy, an online academy focused on equipping the generation of kingdom-minded entrepreneurs. In this role, she teaches new students how to build their business and brand in the same way that she has successfully built her own. She has appeared on multiple episodes of The Kingdom View, a globally broadcasted television network, on a show on the Now Network, and she is a repeating guest right here on Conversations That Make a Difference. She is published author, speaker, and coach, and the founder of Scarlet Cord Ministries and Kingdom Reigns Coaching. And we're going to talk a little bit about Kingdom Reigns a little bit later on. Mandy Lee has overcome many traumatic life events through the power of the Holy Spirit and applying the same techniques she teaches to her clients. Her story includes overcoming abuse, sex trafficking, addiction, divorce, and mental health disorders. She walks side by side with her clients, guiding them through the supernatural healing journey on the spirit, body, and mind levels. She meets you right where you are and shines the light of truth into your darkness, your dark spaces, and holds your hand every step of the way as you climb upwards. Mandy Lee has a passion for her clients and their freedom and combines that passion with prophetic wisdom from the heart of God in order to pull them from darkness to light. And that's basically what we're talking about today. We're going from darkness to light, right, ladies?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So let's learn a little bit about Free first. So Andrea, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Can you give us a little bit more information on what your mission is at Free?
Absolutely. So Free is a nonprofit organization here in Berks County, Pennsylvania since 2012. We exist to provide restorative care to sexually exploited women and to break the cycle of commercial sexual exploitation through prayer and community awareness. And so we really are here to be the hands and feet of Christ, because we know slavery still exists, and the women that we are called to serve can be set free by the healing power of Christ. And so that is what we are here to do in Berks County and throughout the nation.
Yeah. And so based on what you know about this particular topic and human trafficking and whatnot and sexual exploitation, how prevalent is this in this general area and throughout the world? Are we looking at something that's, well, I believe we're looking at something that's massive, that has been hidden for so many years and has been in the darkness, that you ladies are brave and bold to come forward with all of this on the show today. So tell me what.
Absolutely. So we know there's approximately 40.3 million slaves around the world today. In America, there's hundreds of thousands victims annually within the United States. This includes sex trafficking, labor trafficking. For us at Free, our main focus is on sex trafficking and all forms of commercial sexual exploitation, which would be sex trafficking, prostitution, stripping, any type of commercial sex act. Hundreds of thousands. When we think of human trafficking, we often think of it happening overseas. We think of Cambodia and Thailand and India and Africa, and those are absolutely places where human trafficking is happening at epidemic proportions. But it is also happening in epidemic proportions here in America. And this is not just a city issue. If I were to ask you places in the United States, many times our first thoughts can be Las Vegas, Los Angeles, New York City. Of course, there's human trafficking happening in those areas, but we don't necessarily think of Berks County, Pennsylvania. We don't necessarily think of rural areas or a suburban area, but human trafficking doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone, anywhere. There's certainly socioeconomic factors that make someone more vulnerable to being trafficked, but anybody can be trafficked, women, girls, men, and boys, anybody.
Yeah. It's
Amen.
so prevalent. It's ridiculous. And yeah, and it's in your own backyard, whether you realize it or not.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was literally going to say it's right in our own backyards.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what's your vision for Free at this point? What do you see happening in the future?
Yeah, and so Free has always done education since 2012. So a little bit of what we're doing here tonight, educating what human trafficking is, what are key signs and indicators? How can we identify and respond to a victim of trafficking with the appropriate resources? Prevention work with youth in an effort to keep them from ever being harmed and exploited. We have always done this work here in Berks County and surrounding counties, but we're in the process of opening refuge home. We know there are a lack of shelters and residential programs throughout the nation, specifically for survivors of trafficking. We believe survivors of trafficking need very specific levels of safety, very specific programming for their complex needs, and to really heal this healing journey, which is a long journey. So we are opening Refuge Home, which will be an 18-month residential program for women coming out of domestic sex trafficking and exploitation, ages 18 to 28. And we're really excited to do this. This has been a long project for us. We just purchased the home and we are getting ready to start the renovations, and Lord willing, by the end of this year, we can open the doors for women to come in and have a safe place to live.
Awesome. And Mandy, what part do you play in what Andrea is describing here with this home and what's going on with Free? Let's talk a little bit about your role and how you bring light into the darkness for these women.
Sure. So I actually am new with Free. I just became affiliated with Free recently within this past year. So I do serve on the board. So I act as a voice of a survivor for the board to give them a personal insight onto what these women might need and the different perspective, that I bring to the table that other people would not necessarily understand because they have not been in it and they are not actually a survivor. So I bring the unique voice of a survivor to the board of Free.
Awesome. And through that same voice is how you help a lot of people who come to you who have been traumatically affected by this or other traumas in their life. Yes?
Absolutely. Yes. And, because of what I have been through myself, I have actually received a calling on my life by God to turn around and pull other women out of the pit that God pulled me out of. So this is my life's work now. It is my passion, and it is what I will do, as long as I am on this earth. And, that is what my coaching is geared around, is helping women break free from the pain of their past so that they can walk forward in their own destiny and really claim their true identity in Christ and not have to live under the shame and condemnation that things like sex trafficking or sexual abuse or toxic relationship cycles, things like that bring them. So that's basically what I do in a very tiny nutshell.
In a tiny nutshell, but man, you have a huge reach, my friends. You have a huge reach. I know that you are not just on the board of Free, but I get the privilege to work with you on a project that we've been putting together with some other women. It doesn't. I believe that there are signs that women don't pay attention to, that they get involved in relationships that are not so good for them, and they end up in places where they never thought they would be. So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing and how you and Andrea together, through both of your resources, can help women from getting pulled in, if you will, to the trap that is set for women who are uneducated, let's say, about what to watch for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the projects that Teresa and I are both working on right now is a healing retreat. And we are actually in the beginning planning stages, and we are getting ready to launch the sign up. And that will be held this July from July 15th through the 17th, 2022. And that will be held in person, yay, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And this particular retreat is actually geared towards the healing of women that have been trapped in abusive and toxic relationship cycles. And a lot of times women that are coming out of trafficking or that have been trafficked, they end up right in the arms of another man or woman or what have you, or in another relationship that is just as toxic. And what I like, one of the things that I always say about my story is, I came out of trafficking, and out of the commercial sexual sex industry where I was trapped for 10 years. And I went right into the arms of men that I went to for security, support, whatever you want to call it. But really, it was just another glorified form of prostitution. And that's exactly what I am trying to help women break free from, are those endless cycles of toxicity, that where they end up with men that are just as toxic as, the ones that they're trying to leave behind from sex trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation. So that's a little bit about what Teresa and I are working on. And I know Andrea also does a lot of work, trying to raise awareness in Berks County. And also she and Brittany, who is her assistant, are working on programming for these women. So one of the things that I always say to Andrea is that I wish that there would have been programs like this or a home like this for me when I was coming out of commercial sexual exploitation, because I really was at a loss. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. And I don't think the church knew what to do with me either. So they just really didn't do much. And I ended up back in the arms of the enemy time and time again. But because of Andrea and the work that she's doing, the women that she's helping won't have to face the same struggles that I had to face, where I really had to learn to fight these battles on my own. So Andrea, I will open the floor to you maybe to talk a little bit about those programs.
Yeah. So it's just so critical to get the appropriate resources and programming available to survivors of trafficking. As Mandy said, that would have been such an incredible resource. And many times we don't know what to do when we see human trafficking before us, or we suspect something's happening. We don't know the questions to ask. That's why it's so important to do this education. We want to know, what can we ask? What are the questions we can ask? What can we do? It's important to know victims of human trafficking don't typically identify as a victim of trafficking. So we really can't wait for someone to say, I'm a victim and I need help. We need to be able to ask the right questions and respond accordingly. And so this home will provide not only shelter, not only a bed, but it will provide trauma-informed equine therapy, medical care, STD testing, gynecological testing, sobriety groups, of course, daily devotions and Bible study and weekly church attendance. And they will have daily academic requirements, GED preparation. They will be able to take college classes. And so it's a comprehensive approach to a complex trauma. And so if someone is a victim of rape, that is a one-time horrific event that should never happen to anybody. When someone is a victim of trafficking, prostitution, that is essentially someone being raped every day, over and over and over again. And that is considered a complex trauma. It's a physical, emotional, sexual, I'll say spiritual trauma that takes a long time, and the help of the Holy Spirit, who can do anything to heal from, right? And so that is what Refuge Home will provide. And real quick, I just want to touch on what Mandy said about prostitution, because sometimes we can think of, we can kind of put it into two camps: sex trafficking victims and the prostitutes. And for us at Free, we really want to bridge that gap of saying, even if someone is willingly prostituting, which, believe it or not, many times when you dig deeper, you realize there is a pimp, there is a trafficker. But even if someone is willingly prostituting, that is still coming from a place of brokenness. Yes. And no one has the right to exploit someone's brokenness. I have never met, the majority of the survivors that I have met have been abused as children. They've had a lifetime of abuse and trauma. And so when we hear things out there saying, well, that's a choice to be a prostitute, at Free, we believe they feel like there is no other choice. And so that's a distinction I really want to make here tonight.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Because, you think going to the movie Pretty Woman, let's go there for a second. It made it look like, like she was willingly there, and we don't know what was behind. We don't know what's behind those faces. We don't know what's behind in the histories of these women who were out on the street and don't know what else to do with themselves. But it was in that particular movie, yes, the relationship was all part of it and whatnot, but where did it start? It started on the street corner, so yeah. And we're going to have to go to a break in a second, but I just want to also say that, a lot of this on this show, we talk about all aspects of abundant living, and what you ladies are doing are giving a chance to women. And I hope that there are many places that are available now to children who are being trafficked and whatnot. My heart breaks when we go to this house. So don't be surprised if tears roll. Don't be surprised if tears roll. But I'm all about living abundantly, whether we're talking about physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And I just want to let everybody know that on top of what we're talking about today, in today's world, inflation is destroying the dollar, and Conversation That Makes a Difference has partnered with a team of world-class experts to deliver incredible information and pricing on precious metals, including rare coins and bullion, IRA and 401k conversion with precious metals, and wealth building programs to fit every budget. So if you're interested in hearing about the financial side of abundant living, you can join me on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a special webinar to learn more. And space is limited, so go now to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com and click on Build Wealth, the tab there, to register for that. And we will be bringing lots of conversations about abundant living, regardless of what aspect of abundant living you fall into. If you have a story to tell, we want to hear it. So with that, we're going to go to our first break, and we'll be right back with Conversations That Make a Difference and more with Mandy and Andrea.
What if dreams can diagnose your life? What if we can meet the love of our life in dreams? Join host Kat O'Keefe Canavis, the #1 internationally best-selling author of Dreams That Can Save Your Life, written with Duke University medical doctor Larry Burke. Dreaming Healing is where we'll explore dreams, research, and interpret dreams from you, the caller. Dreaming Healing shows can be heard every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern, with live shows on the first and third evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Come live your dreams out loud with Kat.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. For over 40 years, Omega has seen more than 1 million people come through its doors to grow, learn, and find a greater sense of purpose. With over 350 workshops to choose from, Omega offers something for everyone. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back, and I'm letting life flow. I love that. It's kind of like okay, take a breath. First part is over. Let's get deeper into the conversation, right? So that's exactly how I see it. It makes me relax. So we are back with Conversations That Make a Difference. And Andrea, I want to ask you, so this is a not-for-profit organization, correct?
Correct.
Free is. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you're funded by people who are what do we want to call them? Benefactors. People. Yeah. How are you funded? How does all this get taken care of? Is there anything available for people to donate to this?
Absolutely. So Free is funded by individual donors, businesses, local churches, people with this passion and heart to see women set free. We have received philanthropic money, local grant money, things like that. So anybody can donate, and we certainly welcome financial support. We have our website, freefromht.org. You can donate right on our website. We also have a PO Box 366, Morgantown, PA 19543. You can find all of this information on our website, and you can write a check. You can make a donation on our donate page through PayPal. So there's lots of ways people can give financially.
Mm-hmm. And are there things that you actually physically need that people can donate? Like I crochet blankets.
Yes, ma'am.
It's crazy.
Yes,
but
yes.
Yeah.
And if there's any specific ways someone wants to give in-kind donations, we are actually in the process of getting a gift registry started for the home. That will be up on our Facebook page, Instagram. It will be on our website and on our newsletter. And you can reach out to me, Andrea, at freefromht.org. If you want to receive our newsletter, we can get you connected. But we need all kinds of stuff for the home. So we are absolutely open to all kinds of donations for sure.
I'm all about this. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I hope that it catches on in various places. I'm sure there are resources available throughout the country, but I love the fact that this is, well, not quite my backyard, but a couple of hours away. We know that there's places where women can go if they are caught up in this sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. So, I'm kind of like at a loss for questions to ask, because this is so not my area of expertise. So I'm going to rely on you ladies. I know that for me, and one of the reasons why Mandy and I are involved together in this retreat, this healing retreat, is because many, many women, and you would never even think that, myself, for example, came from an abusive situation and then left the abusive situation and got into another abusive situation. And there is a cycle that happens, and a circle that completes every time somebody gets into a relationship. And you ladies have the expertise on how to learn certain behaviors from people who you are being abused by, or, but a narcissistic relationship. That word is a buzzword these days. So Mandy, I'm going to go to you with your therapy, background, and the fact that you help women get out of these situations, and that we together are going to be providing some information and healing from that. So let's talk about narcissism and abusive relationships and how people can have their eyes open for certain behaviors, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of red flags, and we definitely have to be aware of these red flags. And yes, narcissist is a buzzword right now, but it is not a new phenomenon. This has been going on for centuries, decades, generations, whatever you want to say. It's been going on since the beginning of time. And basically, there's a spiritual root behind narcissism. And that's basically, one of the things that I educate women on is the fact that this is a spiritual root. It's very interesting when you start talking to victims of narcissistic abuse and our stories line up so well. And it's like, wow, why are our stories so identical? And the reason why is because the enemy has no new tricks. He gives this, it's the same playbook over and over and over again. And he really, he's not that smart. He's really not that wise where he can come up with all these new tricks. So it's the same tricks over and over and over again. And if we really can raise awareness to what to look for and the red flags, you can prevent a lot of heartache for yourself and get yourself out of an abusive situation before you completely lose yourself and before it's too late. Because one of the things about narcissistic relationships is that you will completely lose yourself. There will be nothing left of you at the end of a relationship if you even get out. Most women never get out. And, it's all over the news. You see it all the time. These women, they even go to the police and they say that they're being abused and the police don't believe them. It is a very intricate network and a web that the enemy has woven to keep women in bondage. And I'm not saying that this is just that it's only men that are narcissists. Women can be narcissists too, but this is really more prevalent with women. And one of the things that happens with a narcissist and their victim is there is a very symbiotic relationship that occurs, and they both need each other to exist. So there's a continuum that we all exist on as human beings. And on one end of the continuum, you have your extreme narcissist. On the other end, you have your extreme empath. And neither is healthy, but they both need each other to survive. And, the narcissist, it's the same exact trauma root that exists in both of these unhealthy people. It is unresolved trauma that is at the root of these personality disorders. And the difference between the two is that the narcissist will project everything and the empath just absorbs everything. And the narcissist needs the empath in order to absorb all of their toxicity, and the empath needs the narcissist to make them feel like they are needed, or it's a very codependent relationship that is occurring. And that's the dynamic that's at play with women that are victims of sex trafficking. It's that codependency. It's in a more pronounced form in sex trafficking, but it really is that same dynamic at play.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to. Is it the same? It is exactly the same. It's a maybe an expanded version of the narcissist, right? And
Absolutely.
and the need of the woman to feel like she's worth something, and so even at the expense of sacrificing all of who she is for the sake of somebody else. And it's how did we get to this point? Isn't that the question of the hour? How did the world get to this point that everybody, not everybody, but of course there's so much, this is so prevalent in the world today. And, why are, and these are rhetorical questions, of course, but why are there not more people stepping up like you two ladies? Why isn't there another Andrea 5 miles down the road from where you are with the same kind of help and healing venue that you are putting together, that you ladies are putting together? Why is it? What is the, I think that fear is massive in this world today. And I think that there's a lot of fear people getting involved in whatever. What if I don't say the right thing? What if I say something to trigger this person? How are these things handled? Andrea, what resources do you have for these women?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to have lots of
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
And real quick, just what you said, I think that's a big one. Fear. I know when the Lord called me into anti-human trafficking work at first, I was fighting it, right? Which we should know not to fight God, right? He's always going to win. But I was thinking those same things.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? How am I going to make a difference? At that time, I was a single mom. I'm a single mom. My kids are young. There's nothing I can do to help, right? And that's the lie the enemy gets us to believe, that, but everybody can do something. And so that's a big piece of when we educate. Maybe someone's not called to be the executive director of a nonprofit. Maybe the next person isn't that survivor leader and sitting on a board, but anybody can do something. And so I just want to share that. But there's all kinds of resources throughout the nation for victims and survivors, whether they need counseling, mental health services, help for drug addiction, of rehab. Again, I have personally never met someone who was presently being exploited that wasn't addicted. Typically, trafficking and addiction go hand in hand. So whether a trafficker finds someone addicted and can lure them in with drugs, or a trafficker can get their victim addicted to drugs and then will supply the drugs or withhold the drugs to keep them dope sick if they don't comply. So that's a tactic they can use to manipulate. And so there's so many resources across the nation. There's the National Trafficking Shelter Alliance that we are members of. We can help get women into housing anywhere throughout the nation by making a referral. So it really just is what that person needs. What are they specifically looking for? Do they want a long-term home? Do they want a short-term home? Just before we came on this call, I had a call from someone who was looking for a quick emergency bed that was available. And so we looked for some resources that had short-term housing for an emergency stay. And so it really is just dependent on what they're looking for. There are a lot of resources out there, but it's such a huge, dark, massive issue, right? And so sometimes we have to just keep, what's that adage? How do you I can't remember off the top of my head, but you take one bite at a time, like one bite of the elephant. How do you eat an elephant? You take one bite at a time, and that's what we do at Free. We just take one step and the next step, and that's what you can do for handling something so huge that can feel so overwhelming.
Amen.
So are there national phone numbers that people can call? Is there information on your website where people can go and call for an emergency situation like you were just talking about?
Absolutely, but I'm going to give the number for anyone listening if they want to grab a paper and a pen. The National Human Trafficking Hotline number is 1-888-373-7888. And you can also text HELP or info to 233-733. So this is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anonymous, every language you can think of. So whether you need help and you want to call or text, or if you want to report a tip, maybe you're driving past a massage place, a nail salon, that something looks fishy. You see people coming in and out all hours of the night, and it just seems off to you. You can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline and report a tip.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad that they have that available.
Also, Teresa,
I think that, Mandy, you're a survivor. You came out of this. What was the first thing that happened to, was there someone who gave you a hand up to you to help get you free from what you were experiencing?
Well, I was trapped in the commercial sex industry for over 10 years. And, my family knew what was going on. But, no one really stepped in until I was 29. And that is when my dad kind of stepped in, and he pulled me, out of all of that and, got me into a safe place where I could live, and got me back into the church. And it was a Baptist church, a fundamental Baptist church with a very fiery message. that convicted me down to the bottom of my soul. And I went forward, and nobody really helped me. It was just me and God. It was between me and the Lord. And I just cried out to him. And, it was an instant deliverance for me. It was one day I was addicted to drugs and the next day I wasn't. And it was really quite miraculous. But there were still many, many, many soul wounds that needed to be healed, and they were not being addressed. At that point in time, I think that, like I said, the church didn't really know what to do. And they were just like, everything hush, hush. We don't need to talk about that. That's all in the past. It's all under the blood. And, while there is an element of truth to that, it is more true that we need healing. We need inner healing. And you cannot just put a forgiveness blanket over such deep, dark wounds, because those wounds are literal portals and gateways for the enemy to enter into your life. And that's what happened to me. I was still in bondage. While the Lord delivered me instantly of many things, there were still deep wounds that needed healing that I never received healing for. So that led me again back into the arms of the enemy, like I mentioned before. But, one of the things I think that's really important to mention too, kind of going along the lines of what Andrea was mentioning about resources and awareness, a lot of people that are victims of commercial sexual exploitation and sex trafficking, they don't even know that they're a victim. They are not aware of the fact of their status. And I wasn't even aware that I was a victim until I met Andrea, and I went to one of her informational meetings, and the Lord started lifting the veil. And you asked Teresa, how have we gotten to this place in our society? Well, we haven't gotten to this place in our society. Our society has always been like this. This has always been going on. There is nothing new under the sun. This is not a new phenomenon. This was going on back in biblical times. But what happened was the enemy just put a cloak over it. It was just covered up. And, through awareness, like Andrea is doing, through free, that cloak is lifting. And that's what happened when I was in one of those awareness meetings. God lifted the cloak for me, and the light shined into the dark places in my life. And I was able to finally understand and wrap language around what happened to me. And I really just want to reach out to anybody that's listening. If you ever feel like that you have been victimized, or even if you don't know if you've been victimized by commercial sexual exploitation or sex trafficking, do yourself a favor and get educated. You can go on the website for Operation Underground Railroad as well. And they actually have a course that you can take that is that will certify you for human trafficking awareness. And it doesn't take long. It's maybe like an hour tops, that it takes you maybe 2 hours. You watch a lot of informational videos, and at the end, you'll get a certificate that certifies you for human trafficking awareness. And I think it's super powerful for everybody to do that. Yeah,
absolutely. Great resource. Thank you. And we're going to have to take a break, but I just want to repeat those numbers for what Andrea gave me. National Sex Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888. And you can you can also text help or info to 233-733. So if you're in a situation where you need help with this with something like this, please use those resources, and we'll be right back. Thanks so much for listening to Conversations That Make a Difference on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Darkest hours to brightest moments, transformation from despair to happiness, and chaos to clarity. Real people, real pain, real healing. Life-threatening illness, death, abusive relationships, divorce, and overcoming addiction are challenges these men and women faced head-on. See how they emerged stronger and happier. Buy the new book, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change by Reverend Patricia Caginello and Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas. Available on sacredstoriespublishing.com and worldwide through Amazon and other retailers.
In a world facing annihilation, a miraculous African nun rises to become the first female pope through a web of war, murder, and betrayal. Loved by some, hated by many, she becomes the deadly target of Islamic terrorists and her own cardinals as she introduces a new vision that will either save humanity or accelerate its destruction. 4 people must race against a nuclear holocaust to learn her astonishing secret. Pope Annalisa is available at petercanova.com, Amazon, and other online booksellers and bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Why are we here? How can we be happy? Questions asked from millennials to boomers. Crappy to Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy answers them using true stories of grit, grace, and love. James Redfield, author of The Celestine Prophecy, wrote in the foreword, "This book is a seminar about emerging truths and offers grounded solutions through the art of the comeback." Dr. Bernie Siegel, a contributing author, wrote, "Bodies die, but spirits and consciousness survive and recycle." So, grab some tissues, open your book, and prepare to cry and laugh till it heals. Crappy to Happy by Reverend Ariel Patricia and Kathleen O'Keefe Cannabis. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and booksellers worldwide.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
We are back with our final segment. Would you believe we're on the third and final segment already? We have about less than 15 minutes left. So I want to open this up to you ladies. Andrea, what would you like to say if there was something that you can say to somebody right now who is or may know someone who is stuck in this, I'm going to call it a living hell. What's the first thing you recommend that they do? What information can you give as someone who is educated in this area for people to do and do safely?
Yeah. So I first would say we never want to tell someone what to do. So if you're someone that is suspecting something is happening, maybe it's someone in your church. This can happen in our church, friends. This is not some nefarious thing that just happens over there. You could be sitting right next to a victim of trafficking in your church. You could be in the grocery store with someone that's a victim of trafficking. And so ask the questions. If the Holy Spirit's prompting your heart, like we talked about fear, don't be fearful. Just learn to ask some questions. But we never want to tell someone what to do. So if someone discloses that they are a victim, that something's going on, we never want to say, you need to get out and leave right now, because that moment of someone leaving an abusive situation, that could be life or death for that person.
It can.
So we never want to do that. We just want to say, are you okay? Are you safe? Do you need help? Can I provide you some numbers, some resources, some websites? That's how we can start. Build relationship with people. Mm-hmm. It really happens in community and relationships. So when we have met victims and survivors, people will often say, well, what are you doing? What's going on? The greatest thing we have done is just sit with them at the table with a cup of coffee and just treat them as a human being created in the image of God, because that's what they are, right? And just build relationship. Victims do not, and survivors, to an extent, they don't trust people. You know, why would they? They've not been able to trust anybody in their life. And so we can just start with those small steps. And I just want to add, many times it's not the scary person in an alley that's abducting someone. That can be what trafficking looks like in America, but oftentimes it's familial trafficking. So someone is trafficked by someone that they know, someone they are familiar with, someone in their family. It could be dad, it could be mom. I have met people that have been trafficked by female family members. It could be football coach, soccer coach. It could be a youth pastor. I had a call one time from a young woman who was trafficked by a youth pastor. And so do our churches have the resources? I think Mandy mentioned it, like it's something that people don't want to talk about. Are we talking about it up at the pulpit? Because this should be discussed at the pulpit. This is real stuff going on, and we need to dismantle the enemy by ripping it out from under the rug and shining light on it and talking about it, talking about pornography, which is a link. So if you know someone that is struggling and addicted to pornography, Fight the New Drug is an incredible resource. Give people the resources, take away the shame. We're not here to judge people, but we're here to say, we can help. Do you need help? Yeah. Jesus loves you. You can bring this into the light. Have accountability partners, discipleship, one-on-one discipleship, mentorship. That's so critical. Being in that close community where there's safety to talk, whether you're a female or a man. These are, it's so important.
Yeah, I agree. Isn't there a sign? There's also a sign I saw on, I don't remember what I was watching, but there's a universal sign of someone who's being abused or is being held under against their will. What is that sign? Can you show us?
I don't know, but honestly, someone just asked me that the other day. I have seen stuff on the internet, whether or not there's truth to it. I don't know enough about it. I don't know if maybe Mandy does, but I don't.
I actually don't. I'm sorry. That's new to me.
Yes. Yeah. But I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw it in something I was watching, and I think it's actually 4 fingers up, 1 thumb in here, and they put their hand like this, and then they close it like this. Okay. So if somebody has that behind their back, and research this for yourself. Anyone who's watching, research this for yourself. But like if someone has their hand about, somebody answered the door. There was a woman who was clearly bruised, and she went into this house, and somebody else came to the door, and she when he came to the door and she was in sight of him, she gave that sign or something similar to it to indicate that yes, she was in danger. Yes, she was in danger. So, and I like what you said, Andrea, about ask questions. There's nothing that, I don't think there's anything that anybody can do that would keep everybody safe. It's a matter of finding out information, and that's have a conversation that's going to make a difference in the life of that person. Just start a conversation. Mandy, what would you like to add to this?
Well, I love what Andrea brought up about pornography being a huge link. One of the things people always say, what can I do? Well, I will tell you the number one thing that you can do is stop participating in pornography and stop funding sex trafficking through supporting pornography. If you watch pornography, if you buy CDs or music from artists that are literally using pornography in their lyrics or on stage, the way that they present themselves on stage, that's a lot of pornography. There are some artists that I will no longer align with because of a Super Bowl show that occurred a few years ago. And I used to love this artist, and I will never align with her again because of basically it was sex trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation that was being promoted and glorified during this halftime show. And I was mortified, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is, and we were buying into this as the American people. This was the Super Bowl halftime show, the most watched entertainment event in the entire world. And this was glorifying commercial sexual exploitation. So the number one thing that we can do is stop glorifying it, stop accepting it, stop participating in it. In apps like Snapchat and TikTok that we allow our children to freely regulate or regularly attend themselves on or put themselves on. Those are playgrounds for traffickers. Your children are out there and they are bait for people that are actually looking for them. So really be on top of those types of things too. And don't allow your children to have free reign on these types of apps. And, you know, I also wanted to speak into the fact that Andrea was talking about how it can happen to the person that's sitting next to you in church.
Yeah.
You know, I was trafficked when I was 16 years old. And one of the things that I always tell people is that I was captain of the cheerleading squad. I went to a private Christian school. My family was very active in the church. I went to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday evening. And I was trafficked by a group of women that I worked with at an ice cream shop. And, you know, people did not know that I was being trafficked because the number one technique of the enemy is to isolate you. And he isolated me. I was living out of the home. There were so many different things that went into that trafficking incident, you know, and tomorrow I'm actually appearing on the Kingdom View at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, which is a globally televised TV show on the Now Network. And I'm giving a full disclosure testimony on my entire history with sex trafficking from the time I was a small child all the way up until present day. So if you want to tune in and watch that and hear my full disclosure story on my history of sex trafficking and all of the ins and outs of how I ended up there, and, you know, the different elements of how you can prevent that from happening to one of your own children, and how you can also find out if it's happening to anyone around you and step in and help, please tune in tomorrow to that show. And I also am coming out with a book that I'd like to talk about, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. All right, awesome. So that book is being released this spring. And it is called The Same Power. And it is actually my story, my full disclosure story again of what happened to me, throughout my whole life. It doesn't just speak into the sex trafficking and the commercial sexual exploitation. It also goes into all of my childhood traumas that led up to all of these things, you know, and all the unresolved trauma, the roots of trauma. It talks about the spiritual roots behind narcissism. And also it is my powerful story of inner healing and deliverance through the power of the Holy Spirit. And I call it The Same Power, because I had a powerful experience with God at a healing retreat that I went to through Deeper Still, which is a global ministry that ministers to men and women suffering from the soul wound of abortion. And I went to one of their healing weekend retreats, and I had a powerful encounter with Jesus. And, you know, I was watching the video of the perfect sacrifice, and it was the passion of the Christ that they were showing. And, you know, I realized that Jesus went through the most horrific psychological, emotional, mental, physical torture that any human being could ever endure, you know. And I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was young. And, you know, I realized in that moment that Jesus endured all these things, and yet he doesn't have PTSD, you know. He's sitting on high next to God the Father. And this word came to me. God said to me, the same power lives in you. And that's where everything changed for me. And that's why my book is called The Same Power. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Amen. So, and I know also we only have 3 minutes left, so I want to make sure that I can have you send people to your website. I know you have a free gift there for them, and also the website where they can register for the retreat. If you can give that information, and Andrea, I'll give you an opportunity to give the website again for free. So, Mandy, you first.
Okay, yeah. So my website is www.mandylee, that's leigh.com. And there are buttons right on my homepage to download my free gift, which is 5 Keys to Triumph Over Trauma. And also there will be a button to click on to pre-order my book before the official release date right on my homepage. And also 10% of all proceeds to my book are going to the refuge home, which is an exciting thing too. And you'll be able to help getting the doors open of the refuge home by purchasing my book. And the link for the retreat, if you know anyone, or if you are someone that is involved in a toxic relationship and you would like to get freedom once and for all, for that, you can go to www.freedomreigns, that's RAINS retreat.com. And you can sign up. So
Yes, yes. And I'm looking forward to that. Andrea, once again, the information,
Yes.
how people can give, and the site of your, the website that they can go to.
Yeah, so our website is www.freefromht.org. We have a donate link right on our website. Also on our donate page is our P.O. Box 366, Morgantown, PA 19543 address. You can write a check right out to Free. You can be a one-time donor. You can give monthly. You can, again, get hooked up with our newsletters. We have a yearly gala every year. We would love to see more people attend. And I just want to thank Mandy for making this connection. And we're so grateful for her. The voice of a survivor leader is so critical. And just hearing just a little piece, a little bit more of her testimony tonight, that's such a blessing. And so she's lived through it. So they're the experts. And so we're just grateful to have her serving within Free.
Absolutely. And ladies, thank you so much for being here. This is an incredibly important conversation. And just looking at Mandy, I mean, I want to say that if there is someone listening who is caught up in this situation, there is hope and healing, and there's proof positive right here. And with that, this conversation that make a difference is over. Make sure your conversations are making a difference in someone else's life.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy.